FOG Andrew here from the Family of Gamers. Welcome, Wargamers, to an exciting, awesome video. So, if you don't know anything about us here at Family of Gamers, we are pretty big fans of Catan. And especially me and Coach, when we did our top 5 board games video, I put it at number 2, Coach put it at number 1. So, we're really big fans of Catan. So, what I thought I would do here in this video is to do a Catan buyer's guide for 2024. There was just a new release for Catan, there was some releases last year, and some other stuff, so I figured, you know, if you're trying to get into Catan, this is definitely the video for you. Or if you have Catan and are looking to expand on the game and get some of the other boxes, expansions and whatnot, this is definitely the video for you, because there are a lot of expansions and supplements for Catan, and we're going to kind of go through them, so let's do it. Alright, so we are here on Catan.com. So, of course, this has pretty much everything you need to know about the world of Catan and everything, the history and all that stuff, but we want to look at here, Explore Catan, if it lets me do it, and we go to the Catan base game and expansion. So, first things first, I want to talk about Catan itself a little bit. If you are a fan of just any kind of board game, Catan is definitely a game that you should pick up. It is definitely a very classic game. There are some things that, you know, are there and a little iffy, but overall, it is a great game standalone. You know, there's just like one or two things that I'm a little iffy on, rules-wise, but it's like the tiniest thing that can happen, and it really does not matter that much. But if you just like board games in general, Catan is definitely a good introduction. Or if you're trying to get into board games and you like Monopoly in the game of life, Catan is on that list definitely for you guys. You should pick it up. So, let's say you already have Catan and you are looking to expand on it. Well, there are these big box expansions, but if you're not ready to dive into those yet, there are two just simple scenarios that you can get for base game Catan. The first one being Catan The Helpers. Essentially, what it does is adds, I believe, 12 of these cards here, or tiles, which are different characters that can grant you certain abilities during the game. You know, you have Stina makes it easier for you to trade cards. Hogni allows you to move a road. Digger sends the robber back to the desert. So basically, it's just giving you kind of an extra little thing. It's really not that much. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's like 20 or 15 bucks for them. So you get the 12 tiles. You can use them in base Catan as well as some of the other expansions, which is cool. You can incorporate it there too. But this is just a very tiny thing that is added to Catan base game. There's also the Catan Soccer Fever scenario here, which is only for base Catan, and it adds some interesting stuff. So you have the soccer pitch, which you don't really necessarily need to set up. It's just kind of an extra thing. But the main things are you have the pitches here that are tiles that go on the board that replace two of the desert and another tile on the board. You have the tracker here, and essentially every time somebody builds a settlement or a city, a soccer match goes on, and depending on the players you have, they will play a game of soccer, and then whoever wins that game will go up on this track here, which will grant you resources and development cards. And then if you are in first place on the track, then you are getting 3 points, second place 2 points, and third place is 1 point, fourth place, if you're doing 4 players, is nothing. So just a little extra way to get victory points. It's really goofy, and it's really inexpensive too. It's just a small little folder expansion for 20 bucks. You can get it, you know, even on Mini Mart or Game Nerds for a little cheaper than that. But like I said, it's just a tiny little folder scenario, as I call it. And but it's very fun, and it's definitely just a very goofy scenario thing that you can just add into your base game of Catan. So now, if we go to the big box expansions, there are 4 main big boxes here, and the one that I would definitely recommend first, which is not what I did, is Seafar's. I kind of went straight into another one, which I will talk about later, but I think Seafar's is a good jumping on point if you want to get on into the expansions here, because you can use boats, and the boats are just literally roads on the sea. That's it, and it adds, not only you have Catan, but you also have some islands. It makes the board a little bigger. You also have you can explore the different islands, go to different islands. There's even gold like hexes that will, if that number's rolled, you'll get whatever, you get to pick whatever you want. So again, you have the ships, which are, you know, cool for the game, and just but that's really all it adds. It's just a very small addition, but there's a lot of different scenarios in there that you can do. You can do you know, the main Catan island with a bunch of smaller islands. You can do a bunch of small islands. You do 2 big islands. You know, there's a bunch of different things you do, and you could even customize it however you want if you really wanted to, and you know, do your kind of own Seafar's thing and explore out into other islands. So again, it's very simple. But what's cool about Catan is that Catan is a very like modular game. So for example, you can use the helpers with Seafar's. You can use, so if you bought helpers, you can use Seafar's in that as well. I don't know if soccer would really work in there, but you know, that's fine. But there are some other cool things here, like the Legend of the Sea Robbers scenario. Now this is a scenario specifically for seafarers, and it adds 4 campaign scenarios into it. That adds looks like they don't have pictures here, but it just adds 4 new scenarios that you can play and go along, and it adds a lot more into the game of Catan. And you know, just it's basically like you get that with Seafar's with regular Catan, and you kind of got 3 boxes going in one game, and it's cool to see. Board gets bigger, you get to do some more things. But if you like Seafar's, which I really do, you should definitely get Legend of the Sea Robbers here. The next one I would say is that we have here for Seafar's is Hawaii. It's another one of these cheap folder scenarios, only 20 bucks for it. Like I said, you could probably go on Mini Mart or Game Nerds and get it for cheaper. Very small here, but you need Seafar's to play this because you are settling Hawaii here. And it adds fish tokens that let you do some things. If you get to certain fish spaces on the board, you go up on the track, and you get up to 5 victory points as well. The map, I will say, is paper, but I'm not complaining because of how affordable this scenario is. It's only 20 bucks, and you're getting basically a brand new way to play Catan Seafar's. And, you know, there's some interesting stuff, like you can only put roads and cities on certain spaces. You can put, you know, your ships in these spaces, but if you get onto these areas, you'll get a point on here. And then if that number's rolled, you'll get fish, and then the fish can help you do some things. It's a very fun scenario. One of my favorites, to be honest with you. And again, for only 20 bucks, you're getting this big thing with fish and all this stuff. Definitely worth it here. Now, Treasures, Dragons, and Adventures I will talk about a little later. We will get to that, don't worry. But the next scenario or expansion box that I would recommend that is like a step up above Seafar's would be Traders and Barbarians. Now, this adds 5 scenarios to Catan, and it is a very, this is where you're starting to get to like the crunchiness of Catan. Seafar's with Hawaii or Legend of the Sea Robbers, you know, they add a little bit extra to it. Traders and Barbarians definitely adds a lot more. You're getting, not only you're getting event cards which let you not roll the dice, You get Harbor Master, so if you have stuff on the harbors, you can get an additional points for that. There's a variant for 2-player Catan. There's the Fishermen of Catan, Rivers of Catan, the Caravans, Barbarian Attack, and then Traders and Barbarians. And essentially, you have some different scenarios, like the Fishermen of Catan adds fish on the outside of the Catan island, and then you can get fish, and that helps you do things. There's gold that does stuff. There's the Caravans here that branch out from the oasis in the middle of the map. Rivers of Catan let you build bridges over the river, which lets you get gold and stuff like that, which is cool. Barbarian Attack, as the name suggests, has barbarians, and you're trying to defend the castle. And then Traders and Barbarians has barbarians, but you're also trying to send out your caravan to go pick up supplies from different parts of the island of Catan and bring them to different parts of the island again, and you're physically moving them on the board. So that, I think, is it's 5 completely different things, but as you go along, the more complicated they get. So Fisherman of Catan is very simple. You set up the tokens on the outside of the board, and that's pretty much it. Then you have the fish. But when you get to Traders and Barbarians, you have the Barbarians, you have your Caravans, or in Barbarian Attack, you have your Knights and stuff like that, your Cavalry that go out with the from the castle and everything. So, again, it's definitely a good box. It's not one of my favorites, but I like it a lot. I do like it. I mean, I don't think there's really a box for Catan that I don't like, or if there's an expansion that I really don't like. The tricky thing is here, it's a little tough that I have found to combine with the other expansions. Now, you can do it. There are some rules to do it, but I found it a little tricky. There's definitely a way to do it. But I need to look into it a little bit more. The next one that I want to talk about here is Cities and Knights. So Traders and Barbarians didn't have really any extensions that you can do like Seafarers does, but Cities and Knights does have some interesting stuff here. So Cities and Knights is probably Coach and I's favorite expansion, I would say, for it. Not only are there barbarians that will come and attack the island, and you have to build knights in order to protect the island, there obviously, as the name suggests, there's a big emphasis on cities. So you can upgrade your cities into metropoli, whatever you want to call it, here, which make the cities worth 4 points instead of 2 points. You could add city walls, which will help you not lose resources when a 7 is rolled. You could hold more cards in your hand. Adding coin, cloth, and paper as commodities as well. So when you roll a number, you're not only getting the resources in that space for a city, you're also getting the commodities. So you got coin for ore, cloth for wool, paper for lumber, etc., etc., etc. So this is like one whole different beast of Catan, okay? It adds a lot, but they all, I feel, flow into each other really well, and they all work together super well for Catan. Again, one of probably my favorite, actually, of the big box Catan expansions, which is controversial. I know a lot of people don't like it. It will make the runtime of playing a game of Catan a little bit longer, so if you're not a fan of that, I would stay away, or if you're not a fan of the more complicated stuff for Catan, I would say also stay away. So, but it's definitely a fun game. I know Coach says that, playing Catan with Cities and Knights is kind of his base Catan. He has to use Cities and Knights in order to really play Catan, just because we've played it so much with Cities and Knights. When we go back to the base game of Catan, it just feels like there's something missing. But, again, I love playing base Catan on its own. Now, I will say there are 2 things that we have here. First one is Legend of the Conquerors, which is like Legend of the Sea Robbers, it is a Catan scenario for Cities and Knights. So you get 3 of these campaign scenario mission thingies, and it adds a lot. I mean, as you can see from this board, you're adding Cities and Knights already adds another die. You're adding another die to that, which has you kind of push the Conquerors on the board. You have the Conquerors that come onto the board from like the edge of the board. You have amber and wine tokens. You have cavalry with your knights, and then you also have cannons as well, which are cool. You have a huge barbarian board here, which more stuff will happen as the turns go on. So, and you still have your tracks. There's different development cards. There is a lot that happens in this, but there's 3 scenarios, and again, adds a lot to Catan and Cities and Knights. So if you don't like Cities and Knights, I would say you don't have to get this, but because me and Coach love Cities and Knights already, this is a perfect addition to the Catan collection. Now, one of my favorite / interesting products that I really like is Treasures, Dragons, and Adventurers. So this one is as it says here, it's a set of scenarios for the truest Catan fans, and that is 100% accurate, because not only to get the full experience of this box, you need Catan, you need Seafarers, and you need Cities and Knights. So you need altogether 4 boxes. This, Seafarers, Cities and Knights, and base Catan. So that is 4 whole boxes. There's a lot that happens here. There are 6 scenarios: the Treasure Islands, Departure into the Unknown, Greater Catan, the Desert Dragons, the Great Canal, and the Enchanted Land. So really, it adds, you have treasure chest tokens that you can explore and find on the board, and then they will grant you prizes and rewards and whatnot. You also have the like the canal scenario where you have to use your knights to build a canal so that the food basically doesn't run out for Catan. And similarly, like Seafarers, you're using the boats. Similar with Cities and Knights, you're using your knights and barbarian track and everything, like in those scenarios. But this also adds these dragon meeples, so there's dragons that you have to fight or, just kind of get away from. And it adds a lot. And now, again, if you have Seafarers but not Cities and Knights, don't get this. If you have Cities and Knights and not Seafarers, don't get this. This is really a box that you should get if you like both Seafarers and Cities and Knights, like I do. So I do have this box, and there are very fun scenarios in here. There are scenarios where you can just use Seafarers, and there are scenarios where you can use both Seafarers and Cities and Knights, and then there's some scenarios where you can only use Seafarers and not Cities and Knights. So there's a lot of stuff here. This is like something you're gonna have to get later in your Catan adventure, or your venture into Catan here. So again, it's a cool box, definitely really cool. I would just hold off, but if you don't like Cities and Knights, don't get it. Do not get it. But me being the person that I am and that I do like Cities and Knights, I would say definitely get it. Now, the last box that I got, or that I also recommend you get, is Explorers and Pirates. Now, Cities and Knights seems like it is a lot, okay? Explorers and Pirates, I feel like this might be a controversial thing to say, but I feel like Explorers and Pirates is a little bit more just slightly more crunchy than Cities and Knights. Cities and Knights has a lot of things there, but they all flow together very well, and once you play like 2 turns of the game, you're gonna get used to it right away. Explorers and Pirates has some stuff that is interesting, but it kind of changes everything you know about Catan. Not only are cities not even in the game, you have these harbors. What the cool thing is that you have boats, but you physically will put your like dude meeples or your spice meeples or your fish meeples onto the ship and physically move it across the board. in Seafarers, the boats are just roads on the sea. That's all they are. This, you're actually moving them on the board, which is really cool. There's also these like pirate lairs that you can attack and get rewards for. There's the fish that you can get with the fish tokens. You're going to transport them back and forth. And then there's some, other stuff, collecting spices and whatnot. Very, very cool scenario. Very cool box. I believe there's, I'm trying to remember, I believe there's 4 scenarios, 3 or 4 in here. But that being said, you have the first one, and then the second one, it gets bigger, and then the third one, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go along through the scenarios in the box. So there is a lot. There is a lot to this one. And there's also, like, a lot in the box. It is definitely worth the money because you're getting a lot of cardboard and, wood, pieces and whatnot in there. So that's pretty much it for just, expansions and whatnot for Catan. But I do want to quickly go over the standalones and the variants for Catan. So there is a 2-player card game called Rivals for Catan. I do not have it, so I'm not really going to talk much about it. Catan Jr. is a very simple game that is, for kids or for families and stuff like that. It is interesting, but, instead of you settling stuff, you're pirates going and collecting treasure and whatnot. Catan Starfarers is Catan in space, which they have the base game for and a small expansion for, and then they also have a 2-player card game of Starfarers, which is cool, called Starfarers Duel. I really want to get Starfarers because I think that's an awesome concept for Catan. And then there are these standalone editions, which I'm going to talk about last, but there is like stuff Catan on the Go, Traveler Edition, Struggle for Catan, Logic Puzzle, and the Dice Game. The Dice Game is awesome. I saw it at Five Below for $5, picked it up. It is awesome. It's very, very fun. If you want to play a game of Catan with just 2 players, I would recommend getting the Dice Game. And then they have the 3D editions, which, are cool, but out of my price range, unfortunately. But we have things like Settlers of America, Family Edition, Rise of the Incas, Game of Thrones, Dawn of Humankind, New Energies. Now, all of these are just standalone boxes that you can just buy the box, that's it, no expansions. I only have Dawn of Humankind and New Energies, which are both very fun. Dawn of Humankind completely changes everything that you know about Catan. New Energies is a modern take on Catan, so you're building power plants, conserving energy, stuff like that. And these other ones I'm not going to talk too much on just because I haven't played them, I don't have them, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So that is it for my Catan buyer's guide for 2024. Obviously, there's probably going to be more boxes coming out in the future and expansions and whatnot, which, of course, I'm very excited for. So if you're a fan of Catan, you can definitely check out some of the other videos that we have posted on the channel here. We love Catan over here. We love board games, we love miniature games, tabletop games, all that stuff. So if you're new here, definitely subscribe. We have a lot of content coming your way. And also, let me know what your favorite Catan expansion box, whatever, is your favorite in the comments below. And also, check out the links in the description. Our link tree, we have all of our links there to our social media, Patreon, Discord server, and podcast as well. All that stuff is in the description. You guys can check those out. And yeah, we want to thank our Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members as well that support the channel over here. We very much appreciate it, guys. So, with that being said, we'll see you in the next one.